From the Windows, Doors, and More studios, your one-stop shop for all your kitchen and bath needs. The Pat Miller Program. Whoa, 92.3 FM and 1190 AM. Depend on it.
And good afternoon, and welcome back to this weekly edition of the Pat Miller Program here on WOWO. Glad you guys are with us. Something really cool is coming up on May the 18th. It's a Race for the Warrior, and there's a concert involved, too. Let me do this. Let me talk to Eric Flores first. Eric, hi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for having me.
Now, this is the 10th year for this Race for the Warrior. How did this come up? I mean, this is to raise money not for people that have died, not for this is to raise money for people involved with the military that need some help right now.
You hit it right on the head, sir. So the Race for the Warrior is a program of the Northeast Indiana Basic Community Council. It originated to help fund one of our programs is our Military Support Fund. So anyone currently serving today in Northeast Indiana, in 11 county area, if they have an emergency relief need, we'll come to their aid, offer a grant of $800, and we usually help with that within 24 hours.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So whether it's they need help because we're just not going to make the rent, or we've got that medical bill and we just can't pay it, whatever it is, they come to you, you verify that there's a need, and then you come up with it.
It's as simple as that. Most of the time, these needs stem from their military service, whether it be military pay issues or just different sets of orders, or just, hey, I'm away, I'm deployed, and oh, by the way, your house knows it and breaks, or your car breaks down, and family's back and need some help. So we step in to help relieve that stress and help improve our military combat readiness of our units. Yeah.
At this point in my life, I'm going to be 70 next month. I know I only look 39, but I've taken very good care of myself. But he just looked at me like, okay, who do you think you're kidding? But I mean, right now, my wife and I are at that position in life. We don't have a whole lot of emergencies that pop up. But man, I sure remember when they did. And they always pop up at absolutely the worst time. You don't know who to go to, how to go to. The banks look at you down their nose sometimes, and you guys are stepping in and you're doing this, and that has got to be very rewarding for them. It's also got to be fairly rewarding for you guys that are involved in it.
It absolutely is. So I'm a retired Army captain. I spent 26 years in the Army National Guard, and I remember the time when I was deployed, and I saw such a need, and people came to our aid.
Yeah.
And so many of our board members and our supporters and our volunteers, they understand that, whether they've served yes or no. And they just want to do their part.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just go out and say thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
I was, because of my back and flat feet, which whatever, I was never able to serve. And then the year after I graduated from high school, they stopped the draft. But they had told me, don't even come and try to apply because you can't get in. But I've always had incredible admiration for those that have served, which is why, and I didn't even remember I was talking to you guys today. And I've got on one of my Honor Flight shirts because I'm involved with Honor Flight, because of that connectedness. So that's kind of a cool deal. But from me to you, thank you for your service to the country and protecting me and my family.
Appreciate the support.
I appreciate it. Let me do this. Because as part of everything that's going on Saturday, May the 18th, they're going to be out there. There's a 5K run, a 10K run. There's a kids race. And I still go by what I said. If I were you, since it's at the airport, I'd get one of the new F-16s out there and just have it somewhere on the runway, and then just creep up behind people and just really rev it right. And I tell you what, if they didn't think they could do a 10K, they can then.
Yeah, we won't be doing that, but we will have an F-16 stage next to Hubie's stage, actually. So
is that right?
It'd be a great place to take some selfies. We will have tactical vehicles along the course, courtesy of the 1st of 293rd Infantry. They'll have 50 cals mounted, and all their cool Army stuff out there. So it's more than just your average 5K. It's a military, but it's also a family event.
Yeah. Well, I'm a military geek. I mean, they had me come out to the airport when we started getting in the F-16s, and they were bringing them in. And there's 4 in the hangar out there right now that aren't completely refurbished yet, and they're working on all that. That fascinates me to no end. Now, listen, another thing that fascinates me, too, is you're going to have Hubie Ashcraft and his band out there. And Hubie, first of all, welcome to the program. Nice to see you.
Thanks for having me, Pat. Appreciate it.
This is not a music station, so you're probably like, what the living heck am I doing here? No, but it's very good that you're connected with what's going on here and everything that. Now, you're from Fort Wayne.
From Fort Wayne, born and raised here, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you doing everything you can to like get a hit record so you can get out of here, or what's?
Well, the way I look at it, every day is a blessing. I mean, be able to make music and make a living at it,
Yeah.
I just feel so blessed.
Yeah, but you want to make sure that you're turning around and you're giving back some of you to some of these people. You feel the connectedness with them that I do.
That's the biggest thing. It's like we owe so much to our military men and women that this is a chance, a small chance to come out and kind of pay it back, what they've done in a small way, and have a great time doing it.
Yeah. Now, after they've done all their running and they're sweating, is that encouraging to you? You're up there on stage and you're doing music and you're looking at a bunch of sweating people laying out there on the.
Well, we encourage people to keep that going and dance and have a great time.
Oh, there you go.
But it's just going to be, like I said, just a really fun day and for an amazing cause.
Yeah, it really is.
What really sold me when Eric told me about the event was all the money stays here in the local area for local military families.
And I love, we have a lot of other people that we help with some of the benefits that they do. I love the ones that it's Fort Wayne for Fort Wayne, or it's Northeast Indiana for Northeast Indiana.
Absolutely.
I think that's kind of important.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that to be able to go and to present checks up to $800, either to the people or to their doctors or to the hospital or whatever, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Do you have any idea how much you're hoping to give away in total this year?
I can give you our numbers, and it's grown. So 3 years ago, we've donated $14,000 in grants.
Wow.
Just this past year, it rose to $53,000.
You went from 14 to 53?
That's a 300% increase. So the need's definitely there.
What do you think? You're the government?
So which is why we need Race for the Warrior. We also have a Golf for the Warrior, and now Rock for the Warrior. But which is why we need to do these things. The need is there. I think our educating of our service members is prevalent, so they know that a resource is available. And it's really just kind of a stop the bleeding kind of thing.
Right.
Write the check within 24 hours until they can get to state and federal resources.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that just get the job done.
Now, are you guys like me that somewhere in your past, in your youth, when you first got married, when you were first out and everything, there were some days you're like, how on earth am I going to make that car payment? How on earth am I going to make that rent payment? And to be able to be in a position now where maybe you're not sitting there now, but yet through your music or through your efforts or through the organization or through events like this, you can actually step in and be that go-between guy. I mean, I would love to be the one to hand some of the people the check. Hey, here's that. I mean, that's just got to be an amazing feeling. And that's when you know you're really doing the right stuff for the right reason.
It is rewarding. One of the core values of the military is selfless service. So that just doesn't go away even when you take your boots off.
Yeah. So when did you first get connected to this organization?
Let's see. Eric reached out just this year, this being the 10th annual.
Right.
Race for the Warrior. And they had an idea between Eric and Joe Lewis, who had seen the group recently at an event, reached out to me. And like I said, I was in from the beginning. And like I said, if we can bring more awareness to the race through music, then that's a huge achievement for us.
Yeah, no kidding. So now, how big is the band?
The group we're bringing is a 6-piece band. So we've got a saxophone player. We've got a violinist who's world class. He lives here in Fort Wayne, but recently he did a show with the Eagles in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
He's worked with Stevie Wonder. I mean, we're talking world class musicians.
Names nobody would ever know. Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, folks like that.
Just trying to help Stevie get a start. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah. And that's the amazing thing about Fort Wayne. We've got so many incredible musical resources, and with Sweetwater being here, it's brought so many folks to Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
So the show, I mean, we label ourselves as a country band, but really we've got elements of rock and blues and R&B.
Isn't there a lot more crossover country to mild rock and even adult contemporary sometimes?
These days, it feels like it's wide open.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's why I tell people, even if you're not a country fan, I feel like you're going to come out and really enjoy the show. We've got elements of so many genres in the performance.
Yeah, you got to be careful because when you said genres, my producers looked at me and he's like, what? Yeah, these are big words. You're going to have to stay with us here, David, okay? But I mean, invariably, I watch Fox News a lot because that's the geek I am. But every Friday morning, they always have a group out there, outside their studio in New York. Invariably, it's almost always somebody that has some elements of country with it. And their connectedness to patriotism and to America and to the military is absolutely unbelievable. It's just a big connection.
Absolutely. My grandfather served in World War II, so it really hits near and dear to my heart, as it does to everyone.
Yeah.
And like I said, to be able to be a part of it and bring awareness through our music is a huge achievement for us.
Now you started the band back when?
This group's, we're going on a decade. We've been playing together.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Holy
and
cow.
Every day I just thank my lucky stars to be able to do this.
Okay, so I know some of the songs that you do. What's your favorite one that you do?
A lot of the songs that we get requests for are a lot of our fiddle songs. So,
Okay.
The Devil Went Down to Georgia, Orange Blossom Special.
Yep. Devil Went Down to Georgia. That's almost like a national anthem of the South, isn't it? I mean, it's just...
and it's some of those songs, no matter where we go, where we play, everybody knows the words of those songs.
Yep. And that's extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
I've never done that. I had a trio for a lot of years, but we never did anything like that. But I'm sitting there with my daughters the other night, and we're watching. Don't laugh at me, David. We're watching the Taylor Swift concert, online streaming it, and she went 3.5 hours. Nobody sat down anytime during the concert, and they're all singing the words back to her for a song. I'm like, why am I singing the words back to you? I paid to hear you. Let's go.
Yeah.
But I mean, but do you get jazzed when you're getting ready to do a show like this?
Yeah. I mean, mentioning Sweetwater, we did an album at Sweetwater a couple years back.
Okay.
And when people come up and say, this song helped me get through this time in my life, or when you look out and you see somebody singing the lyrics back that you wrote, there's no feeling like that. That's just, it doesn't, as a musician, as a performer, it just doesn't get any better.
I mean, you see a lot of musicians that are good, but they're not doing their original stuff. They're singing other stuff, which is fine. Or it's a new song to them, but somebody else wrote it. But then you see somebody like Adele, or somebody like, Taylor Swift, where they wrote them all. And my wife would say, well, and Robert Bublé too. No, we're not talking Robert Bublé. He's too young. He's too good looking. He sings too well. So we don't talk about him. So that's how that goes. So this is a great big event coming up. And every dime of every dollar here is going to help the need here. The band is going to be there, Hubie Ashcraft, and he's going to be there. The people are going to be out there running. I may try to be out there. I'm not running. Now, do you have anything for somebody who could roll a mile? Because I could, if I lay down and if the runway's going away from me a little bit, I can roll about a mile.
It also is, it's a family event. So walking's encouraged. Bring strollers, bring dogs. We do have an adaptive division. So all people are welcome. It is a competitive event.
Okay.
There's some pretty fast runners. There's people just come out to have fun.
Yeah.
We call it a party with the race in the middle of it. It'll eventually transition to a party. Thanks to Hubie. We'll have food trucks there. We'll have adult beverages there.
Okay, you had me at food trucks. Yeah. I'll race you to the taco truck. Okay, so that's how that'll go. So this is on the 18th. Is there a specific entrance to the airport they need to go to?
Well, the address is on the website. Everything can be found on raceforthewarrior.org.
Okay.
It's actually an address to a hangar. It's basically next to the Aero Center.
Okay.
So that address will get you right to the parking lot.
Okay. Very good. Cost for parking?
No cost for parking.
Okay. So if you get out there, if you want to race or run or whatever, you can get in there. $30, $40 for the 5K, $50 for the 10K, and that gets you not just the race but free admission to the concert. If you're going out there just for the concert, $10. And if you're like me, if you're going out there for a food truck, take your loan officer with you to make sure you've got enough. So, but this is exciting. It really is exciting.
It's a great family fun fundraiser.
Yeah, and this is Fort Wayne at its core, Hubie. I mean, because even when you go other places and you play and all that, it's good, it's fun, it's all that. But when you come back here and it's hometown and here we are, there's something rewarding about that.
It's the most gratifying, like you said, and to be able to help out local military families.
Yep.
Of all the shows we do, there's nothing more important than that.
Well, all the money stays here,
and it stays here locally.
Yeah.
To help out our military that have sacrificed so much. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming by and talking to me about this, and we're going to try to get, if we get 35,000 people out there, we'll, first of all, you won't have enough food trucks.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, but let's get a good group out there so that we can all get together and have fun. So, Eric, thanks so much. Hubie, thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be talking more about this as that date gets closer. So you guys be ready for May the 18th, coming up pretty quick. We'll be back straight ahead. This is Pat Miller here with you on WOWO 92.3 FM and 1190 AM.
This is the Pat Miller Program on WOWO 92.3 FM and 1190 AM and on the WOWO app.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for hanging with us. I know I'm a little over the top today. You know, if it's not our primary elections and not, well, he said this about me, well, she said that about him, well, that if it's not all that nonsense, then it's also the nonsense of everything going on in the Middle East. And as horrible as things are going on in some of our elections here, we'd better not take our eye off the ball about what it is that's happening over in the Middle East. That's where our future lies. That's where we had better be extremely and completely careful. And I'm just not sure that we are. When will the president condemn these hate-filled little Gazas, Tom Cotton asked? I don't know. Don't know that he can. I don't know that he can. In his own voice, Joe Biden regularly calls MAGA supporters haters, semi-fascists, a threat to the country. If students of color or LGBTQ plus students were facing this much hatred and threats of genocide on dozens of college campuses across the country, Biden would be delivering televised addresses to the nation every day and every night and calling out the National Guard to protect them because they are the precious kids of our country. Well, let me just say this. Kids of color, LGBTQ plus students, yes, they are the precious kids of our country. But so are those who are in our country who are of Jewish descent or Irish descent or of Italian descent. Whether they are first generation, second, third, or fourth, or fifth generation Americans, those are also the precious ones of our country. And to sit there and to say, but I just don't see the need to have to protect them, well, that's going to be a major problem here real soon if we're not very and really careful. Daniel McCarthy chimed in on this. Today's protests against Israel are part of a larger campaign, follow this, part of a larger campaign against the nation state itself, against national borders, sovereignty, the right of self-defense, cultural continuity and assimilation, and well-defined citizenship. Now, before I go on with what it is that he said, when he said the right of self-defense, that's not just self-defense of the Jews that are in Israel. They're protecting those 23, 24, 25% of them that are also Arabs. Well, they're not protecting the Arabs. They don't. If Hamas and everything that's going on for them was perfect, they would leave Israel and they would go down and join them. But they don't. They stay in Israel. Why? Because they enjoy all the freedoms of Israel. They enjoy everything that's there, that's available for them. And yet, at the same time, they're being attacked and ridiculed by other Arabs, and Israel stands up to protect them. Leftists long for a post-national world of administrative zones, which are not nations in any meaningful sense, overseen by enlightened experts whose authority doesn't rest on the consent of any specific people, but who are ritualistically maintained in office by a well-managed, fluid voting pool of identity constituencies and broken individuals. We have a president who has a difficulty, and it's appearing to be a larger and greater difficulty, where he cannot make a moral distinction between bigots and their targets. Joe, you were a senator back on 9/11. Did you not walk out on the steps and stand there as an American and yet at the same time take a stand against those that attacked us? Who attacked us, Joe? Who attacked us? Was it not most of those guys from Saudi Arabia who stole our planes and flew them into our buildings and caused Americans to jump out of the building because dying on the ground was better than living through the fire that the fuel was causing inside their offices? Who is it, Joe? What is it we need to do? That's what we need to do. Find out who the enemy is and then name them. But you can't, and I understand it, because once you name them, you've got to also name the ones who are acting much like them coming across our own southern border. We'd better find out, and the sooner the better. Okay, we've got Grant Bucher coming up right here after the bottom of the hour, and then just the other side, a little bit of comment about our vice president. That's all coming up straight ahead right here on WOWO 92 FM and 1190 AM. And welcome back. We appreciate you hanging with us through the bottom of the hour. And now we go into the second half of the program. And to do that, somebody that I didn't even know until a couple of months ago, this is one of the good things that's happened during this election season, because there's been a lot of nasty, awful things too. But one of them is meeting Grant Booker and getting to see his family, his wife, and his two kids. The two kids, well, let me just say this. I've got Grant on the line. First of all, Grant, thanks for being with me on the program.
Pat, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Now, listen, you and your wife are great people, but those two kids, I would make them my campaign. I'd put their picture on my car. I'd do whatever I had to do. Those are amazing kids you got there.
Oh, thank you, Pat. We certainly feel blessed with them. And as Marlon shares time and time again, he said, as long as you can, Grant, you need to exploit them in this political process.
Yep, that's exactly right.
We've honestly tried not to through it, but they have so loved getting to know all the different people, and they're learning so much. Like the other day, my 4-year-old Gentry was rattling off all the gubernatorial candidates and all the congressional and state rep and even commissioner candidates in Steuben. And I thought, the poor kid doesn't even know what the NBA is. But we've got him well indoctrinated in this.
He can't give me the most valuable player from last year, but he can tell me who's running for 4th district. So that's pretty cool. So let me ask you, Grant. Now, you are originally from where? I mean, you grew up in the 3rd district, right?
I did. I was born and raised just east of Bluffton.
Okay.
And went to Norwell High School.
Okay. I'm tied to Norwell a little bit. I've done some things down there and spoken at the school a few times, and I've done some things with their band, and I've announced them in some competitions. So Norwell, tremendous school, but just a marvelous place. So now you graduated from Norwell, and then did you go to college?
I did. I studied engineering at Purdue, got my undergrad there, and then went to IU for my MBA.
Okay.
So that either appeals to everybody or turns everybody off. I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask you. Now, you start at Purdue and you get a degree. Then you go to IU. Now, was that in West Lafayette, and then was that in Bloomington?
It was.
Okay,
Bloomington was partially online as well, or mostly online as well.
Did anybody from West Lafayette say, you've lost your mind if you're going to go down and finish at IU? And did anybody at IU say, why did you mess yourself up and start in West Lafayette?
Well, I think it was a matter of the degree programs. IU didn't have a very good engineering program, and the practical education from Purdue taught me that I ought to take the very best education for an MBA that is also the most economical. So,
yeah.
Engineering principles prevailed.
And now you live with your beautiful family up there in the Fremont area, just north of us here from Fort Wayne. So the 3rd district, it's an exciting district. It's a very conservative district. When, where, and how did the thought get placed in your heart and mind, I really think I need to run for 3rd district rep in the U.S. Congress? How'd that come about?
Yeah. So last April, my wife and I were just sorting out life together as best as we could. And one evening, I just sensed a very specific spiritual calling that I was supposed to be in a national race. And I didn't know what that meant. So I just dismissed it, went to bed, figured I'd check it out another day. And I started looking at who's in Congress, who I should be replacing. I was looking at Jim Banks, and I was like, I'm not going to replace him, or Mike Braun wasn't going to replace him. So I thought, well, I guess I'm off the hook because neither of these guys need to be replaced. Yeah. And then the next day, my safety manager, actually, we were going out and having lunch together, and he turned the conversation political and let me know that Jim Banks was vacating his seat running for Senate. Braun was running for governor. And I thought, holy smokes, you have no idea what you just told me.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah. And I fought it for a while, but just thing after thing after thing, I finally decided to surrender and go for it and deal with the consequences rather than say no and deal with those consequences of what I feel to be disobedient. And I'll tell you, Pat, it has been an amazing journey. We have our family has thrived through this, and so appreciated getting to know people throughout different communities in Northeast Indiana, and really the people who are doing a lot of the work to make our communities a better place. And so we're just excited to be part of the process and, try to glorify God along the way and raise up wise citizens.
So that was a little over a year ago that you and God were having that conversation and wrestling just a little bit. I don't know if, I've been through some of those myself, and you kind of find yourself, so this is what it was like for Moses. And so, and you're sitting there, kind of wrestling with God a little bit. I'm trying to decide how to say this. What was it that when you finally said, okay, I'm not getting these feelings for nothing. There's a reason behind what's happening here, and I need to make sure that I'm answering God one way or another. Now, God's not guaranteeing you're going to win the office, but he's guaranteeing he's going to be with you everywhere you go and whatever you do to try to reach that office. And that really is the bigger part of it, isn't
it? It is. About a month or two into the race, it dawned on me, oh my, I was called to run. He never said I was going to win. So it upped the stakes, but at the same time, it helped me keep perspective.
Well, and it's always good to do that, to make sure that you're plugged in the right direction. It's always good to have a wife and children who are right there with you, and that way that you're at least heading the right way for the right time, for the right reason. And the right reason sometimes in political races seems to get lost. Let's go purely political here for a minute. And again, we're talking to Grant Bucher, B-U-C-H-E-R, Grant Bucher, who is one of your candidates, one of 8 the last time I counted, for the 3rd Congressional District. Terrific guy, great family. Obviously, he loves God, loves his family, loves the 3rd District. So he's everything in a candidate you'd like to at least consider. What is it politically that's driving you? Is it that you want to make sure there's a Republican majority in the House? Does that not matter to you? Is it making sure we're taking care of agriculture or make sure we're taking care of the military? What is the driving force for you as you keep trying to reach this office?
Yeah, if I may go back to the last conversation just real briefly.
Sure.
One other thing I wanted to share is with our whole family being in this and how it's been terrific. Something that was very fascinating for me is that after I was wrestling with God and finally told my wife, hey, I think this is happening, her response was not, I can't believe it. Her response was, I know. I said, what do you mean you know? She said, I've known for the last 6 months. And I said, you didn't care to share? And she said, it wasn't your time yet. So I don't know if that's communication or just what, but that was certainly reassuring and has been kind of what was a catalyst to all this being blessed.
That sounds like something that would happen with me and the lovely Mrs. Miller. God and I have known all along, honey. I was just waiting until you were further enough along so you could handle it.
Yeah, for sure. So then something that was shared with me is actually through a friend of Mark Souter to me.
Okay.
That if God's calling you to do something, there's a reason why. You need to find that why. And so, Republican majority in the House, sure. Agriculture, taking care of our farmers, yes. Securing the border, absolutely. Fixing the financial crises, absolutely. All these things, they matter, but fundamentally, why I believe I'm in this race and why I'm passionate is because we've got to fix things at a root level. Unless we fix the foundation or build off of the foundation that we were given, we are going to continue seeing cracks in the system, and we're going to continue to, devolve as a nation. I think it's important that the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I think we all need to look at is what do we want to be, not just what don't we want to be. If we just say, hey, we don't want socialism, hey, we don't want despotism, hey, we don't want anarchy, like all these things, we're going to continue playing whack-a-mole with whatever progressive ideology comes up next. But instead, we need to reset as a people, as a conservative movement, and define what is it that we want to conserve, right? we can say ideological things like I want to conserve conservatism. I want to conserve fiscal responsibility. I want to conserve like all these things. But it's like, okay, what at the heart? What does it really mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? Yep.
Yeah, I think what we need as a nation is a wise citizenry, or as Jefferson put it, an enlightened citizenry. You know, I'm up here at Hillsdale College today, and real quick plug on Hillsdale. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with them. I do not have an endorsement from Pat Miller, but I am honored to have an endorsement from the president of Hillsdale College, Dr. Larry Arnn. He has invested in me quite a bit through this campaign, and I appreciate the time he's taken with me. But we're building a building for him right now in the whole college. And on the side of it, it says, you know, a diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty. That was something that James Madison had wrote in a letter.
Right.
And I think that is at the heart of our nation state right now. We've grown comfortable in the freedoms and liberties that we have, and they're good, but man, we need to defend them. And one of the best ways, in my view, to defend them is to be aware of them and be aware of what we ought to be. So I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole. I apologize.
No. You're probably so full of everything that you want to become, should you happen to get elected, that it's hard to keep it all tamped down sometimes. We've got about a minute left. Let me ask you this. What is it that you hope to do? In other words, let's just dream big. Let's say you win, okay? Mm-hmm. When you step into the office in January, somewhere around January the 3rd, and you take the congressional oath of office, what is it that you hope to be known about as soon as you come out there in front of the other legislators? What is it you hope to be? What is it you hope to do?
Yeah, I hope that is could be known that I'm a servant leader, and that means I want to, like, I don't need to stand above everybody and say, come, this is what you shall do, but instead it's leading a principled life that serves others for the best interest of the community with humility towards my God, right? And tries to draw people into that same mentality. Our Congress is so self-serving nowadays. We feel it, we see it. And we need new leadership. We need a new generation of servant leaders to rise up and go to work for us in Washington as wise citizens rise up in our districts and throughout the nation, and really recognize that what we have here in America is so good, but it needs to be refined and preserved for the next generation. So I'd say that would be something that I'd like to be known for. Yeah,
regardless of what job or career you're going into, that's always what you'd like to be known for. You can find out more at Bucher, Bucher, BookerForUs.com, and that's where you can go to his campaign page, Grant Bucher, and of course his wife Melinda and the two beautiful kids. You'll see a picture of them, and then he'll speak about truth, accountability, and unity, and the things that matter to him in his campaign. Well, listen, best of luck to you. A week from today, it's all over. I mean, you're either going to be rejoicing or you'll be maybe slightly saddened, but either way, you'll probably end up taking a lot of naps. So.
Yeah, perhaps so. We got a lot of signs to get out between now and then.
Yeah, really. Well, listen, Grant, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time. I know time is very precious to you right now, but thanks for being part of it here with us, okay?
Thank you, Pat.
Grant Bucher, appreciate him being here. And we're going to be back straight ahead as Saturday continues right here on WOWO 92.3 FM, 1190 AM.
This is the Pat Miller Program on WOWO 92.3 FM and 1190 AM and at WOWO.com.
Well, Kamala Harris has got some people clamoring, hoping that we find her something new to do. And I guess that's just in case she happens to get reelected, which I think could be a bit of a problem. But, they seem to be pushing for it. It's what they want. Well, there is a group of people, and again, some of the brilliant on the left, who need Kamala Harris to take on a new position. How did she do in her last position that the president handed her? I'm putting you in charge of the southern border. How's that gone? How's that gone? The numbers of people coming across the southern border. Can Kamala Harris even number them? Can she say, well, in April it was this many and in March it was this many? Does she even look for that information? Does she even care about something that her president placed in her lap so that she has the ability to take care of what it is that she's been made aware of? I don't know the answer to that. I don't. Well, Drew Barrymore on her talk show, because that's where we find all of our talking points for the left these days. If it's not on The View, it's on Drew Barrymore or it's on the late night talk shows. Here's what came out. We need Kamala Harris to be Mamala of the country. Not Kamala. We need her to be Mamala. Well, I understand where she's trying to go with this, but let me just come out and just say, Kamala has no children. She displays no maternal warmth or wisdom. Kamala Harris is very cold to people around her. The people around her have said so, and she's extremely awkward. Her interactions with kids are kind of cringeworthy. She doesn't grab them and sniff their hair and rub their shoulders like others that we know, but she does act weird around them. And she has dedicated her career to the slaughter of babies. There is nobody in America more pro-abortion than Kamala Harris. She's got no communication skills. She's got abominable vibes. She has miserable energy. She has no interest in or ability to be Mamala, and no one at all wants that. But she might want it. That might be where she feels like she needs to go. Look, I know she has stepchildren from marriages and partners and whatever. We know how it is that she made herself known in California because of the Speaker of the House back in the day of California, where she decided to get cozy and buddy up and be bed partners with the Speaker of the House out there. And she often stated, and in fact, he stated, she would never be vice president had he not had time with her back in California. How'd you like that to be your claim to fame? How did you become vice president? Well, I'm rather supple and I'm very sweet, and the speaker loved me, and it made a place for me to make myself known, and that's what I did. That is a little scary to me. Just a little scary. That's how you've become known? That's how you want to be known? Well, yeah. Well, we've got little Gazas that we talked about. We've got little Venezuelas coming across our southern border. We have little pockets of China coming across our southern border illegally. Where's the concern about that? Do we care nothing, absolutely nothing, about what it is that happens with our young people when the fentanyl that comes over from China and gets processed in Mexico and then makes its way across our southern border, strapped under the clothing of little children who are sent across with special orders on who they're supposed to ask for when they get there? It's just, I got to have Kayla come back on sometime and talk about what happened when she went down and visited the border. They come across with these little wrists, bracelets, that told the people on the American side, make sure they go to the van that's down there. Make sure she goes to the truck that's over there. And they would come across and they would cut those bracelets off of them and then say, okay, go down the road. Your aunt is down the road waiting in a car, a blue car. It's just about a mile down the road. And of course, the kid would walk and walk and walk. There was no blue van down the road. There was no aunt. Nobody was waiting for them. And they become the crying pictures of those that we see on our news. And it all happened so fast, we almost can't follow it soon enough. Yeah, make her Mamala. Make her out of office. Can we do that? Back with more. Jim Banks is going to be with us right after the news here at the top of the hour. Pat Miller, and I'm glad that you're with us. I'm here with you, and we're doing it all straight ahead right here on WOWO.
Podcasts by Federated Media.